So, while the bots and the AI and whatever technology it is that delivers the sound bites to whoever they are, we never can know for sure. It is true when Elvis had all these women calling me up on the telephone, all these women, I'll say one, two, three, four, five. And then some other women who weren't on the phone but were on Facebook and social media. So when all that was going on, Jerry, who had a whole corral of studs. Elvis was just one of the many studs that she had in her corral. Sure, okay. It was probably his mom, okay? His mom calling on his behalf. But anyway, somebody who was believable, which I told her she didn't want to tell me her name, but she did say that he wanted to marry her, and they went to her church and talked to her Lutheran pastor, and that after that, he told her, I guess it was his confession, that he had raped me. Well, that doesn't surprise me. She couldn't marry him, she said, after she knew that he raped me. That's an avoidant, okay? That's an avoidant who really wants to get married to be intimate. I don't mean sexually intimate. I'm saying emotionally intimate with someone. So it didn't surprise me, but I told her I was still really, because I was still reeling. So um, I appreciated her call, and we did talk couple of more times after that, and and it occurred to me, I had told Jerry, who was the preceding call to Sweet Pea, like Jerry was her real name, right? No. Um, she had told me to call a woman in San Diego who was an attorney general, I think. It seems to me that when I looked up her name, she was on the DOJ's website. So she must have been an attorney general. And she said that this woman was investigating stalking, and she would be interested. This is what Jerry told me. She would be interested in hearing from me. And I thought, the hell I will. Are you kidding me? No, nice try, Jerry. Tell Elvis, nice try. Tell Elvis if he wants to come clean, what he needs to do is he needs to tell that he raped me. Okay? That's all. That's all. So that there came Sweet Pea. Okay, he told her. All right. But he's a big fat liar anyway about everything, so what are you gonna do? But this is ending up not being a short, it's a long. So it doesn't matter to me how many clicks it gets or whatever. Is I'm still telling my story, and I didn't really intend to get into Elvis this quickly, but it seems to be where I'm at. So yeah, that's how it was, and it was I'm it was just ongoing. What do you do with that, Man, I don't know. It's sad. It really is sad. But I knew that was a setup. Are you kidding me? No flipping way. I was gonna. Uh, it's like, see, she's stalking me, and there was no way for me to. And while Jerry was emailing me and calling me, and that was all right. But what happened is, when she would be talking to me on the phone, she would go, "Oh, that's him. He's on the other line." and she would drop the call. So it was probably not his mom. Moms aren't usually that excited. They're like, "Oh, okay, it's there. He's on the other line. I got to pick this up. It's my son, or whatever. Got to see if everything's okay." But not the way she did. So I started writing about that on my WordPress about Jerry, and that's when Marilee called, and because Marilee was worried about me, and because he burned down my computer, and what he didn't expect is that I would get on the phone and I would start blogging through the internet on my iPhone. So, which relieved the people who were following me on the WordPress blog, and Marilee was one of them, one of those people. So she was worried. She was happy. I don't know how people found me. I don't know. Maybe probably my number was on the internet. Probably. I really don't know. I'm not even going to think about it. But she was worried about me, and she knew that he was having my computer hacked and my hard drive fried. So she she her her own willingness to testify and bring forward to the court when he was trying to extradite me. He was trying to get me for defamation, and he was trying to have me extradited to Seattle to institutionalize me. And I was horrified. Imagine, I was horrified, but thank goodness I was already, anyway, I didn't have, it was all technicalities. That's God. And I think really, now that I'm sharing his writings on my YouTube, I'm probably going to start moving more into the things that God has done, Jesus has done, because there has been so much that Jesus has done, so much. I just, it's just like falling in love. It's just like falling in love. I don't get somebody who is afraid of falling in love. I don't get that because I've never been afraid to fall in love. But the only thing is for me is when somebody says that they love me, and so I give my love to them, like, not just loving somebody like, oh, I love that friend, not like that, but like in love with, for me it would be a man. So being in love is in a close and intimate relationship. If somebody says they're in love with me in that way and they want to get to know me better, and then they screw me over, it's like, it's not strike two, not strike three, it's strike one. You're out, right? And I'm not talking about, um, something like a minor infraction. So, but anyway, I don't get that whole thing about being afraid of falling in love. If somebody does you wrong, and that's always been my way, this whole, thing that went down with the psych drugs and the Ambien and, the benzodiazepines and the Buspar and the Paxil and Seroquel and on and on and on. Vicodin, evidently. I just, I mean, nobody in their right mind could claim that with all those drugs put in me, I was acting as myself. Nobody can claim that. So I told Elvis, it's funny. It's funny he's telling everybody, but I can't say his name, right? But I told him um, that I was in no condition. I was in no condition, which didn't really matter to him because he's avoidant, you know what I mean? So, and he's got all, all of that. So it didn't matter to him. So it's caused a lot of damage to a lot of people. I think I just wrote about Marcia, who was my counselor, my mental health counselor at the time, and all of them have been working under the guise that I had childhood issues um, and all of these problems that had nothing to do with what multicare did to me. It's like nobody even questioned any of that. And Marcia, sadly for her, at some point, at some point, Valley Cities opened their own pharmacy too. And no doubt when they open a pharmacy, everybody's getting a cut of it. And if they don't, maybe it's just, oh, now my friend can get hired at our pharmacy too. You know what I mean? So promoting it, cross-selling, if you will, is always something that goes on. So whatever was going on at one point, she said to me, probably towards like the end of our working together, she said, we can probably find you a different prescription. I was like, oh, no, you're not. Oh, no. No, I was very disappointed in that. And even with my current group that I'm with right now, um, one of the women there had told me because she felt that I had anxiety, but any anxiety that I feel is because of what's being done to me. I'm not a person who has anxiety, unnatural anxiety. I'm pretty pragmatic. I really am. So, I am, damn it. So, we were talking and she said, we can probably get you something for that anxiety that's not a psychotropic or whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to strangle her. I said, "Are you kidding me? There's no such thing." She probably felt like a fool. Later she said, "Oh boy, was that a flub or what?" Yeah, that was a flub. I don't know. Um, it's been it's been an interesting ride, but I just not a favorably, not a woohoo, oh boy, oh, what a fun ride. No, not at all. It's been hell. It's been hell. But really, I just have to say here, he told, he told at least to Sweet Pea and probably other people that he's raped me. So it's not like he's hiding it or he's ashamed of it. So I really don't know. I really don't know what his problem with me is. I just don't get it. So I guess I guess his problem with me it has to do. I really don't know. It's not like I can ruin his reputation. I mean, he used to have so much smut about himself online that I just thought, oh my God, how did this guy get his sinkers into me? I mean, talk about it's not an opposites attract kind of situation. Opposites did not attract in that situation, not at all. So, the court thing, all that court stuff, it was insane. It was insane. And the courts are not about justice, not at all. It doesn't, nobody surprises me online when they say that the courts aren't looking at the evidence. Sidney Powell, not that I believe, I think she's an idiot, honestly, but she was talking um, about how the judges would not even look at their evidence to consider it. It's like, yeah, welcome to the real flippin' world. I mean, I can't say it enough times about the Yale and Cornell research done into the corruption of the judges. A lot of judges don't even have to have law degrees. crazy. It's all political. Ronald Reagan, that administration did it. Ronald Reagan was not into the rights of the people. He was full on fascist capitalism. He did not care. So it's no wonder he made friends with China. That would and all the capitalists were like, woohoo, which they could invest, however that works. But um, they were able to get parts made cheaper than what they were having to pay American labor. So that's what he was all about, the slave planet. So, you know, investors flipping loved him. But I mean, I was alive during Jimmy Carter, I know, and before, so I know how it was. Not that there wasn't corruption, but not like today. This stuff today makes the Roaring Twenties and all of that. When they were shooting people up in the street and St. Valentine's Day massacre and all that. So today makes that look like nothing. I just don't even know what to think of it. Everything, I see the loopholes in everything. I mean, JD Vance is cutting 1.3 billion from California's Medicaid plan because of all the fraud, and they're going to do it too. And it's not us committing the fraud. He's not talking about that. He's talking about billing and funneling money, just like what Multicare was doing over there in um, Eastern Washington. They're corrupt. There's no way. There is no way a hospital can prove, or a regulator can prove. Like I said, I was in the hospital, and the surgeon ordered me to have OxyContin that night for my pain. And the nurse did not believe in OxyContin and did not believe in giving prescriptions, and he gave me a Tylenol. And I'll tell you what, I flippin' suffered. She also gave me a prescription of OxyContin, but she didn't give me a paper prescription, so I was never able to fill it. The hospital faxed the prescription over, and so I had surgery and laid in my bed at home for like 7 days without any painkiller. Yeah. And what are the chances that that nurse is pocketing the Oxycontin and has a little side gig going on? How would anybody know, right? I'm not saying he did, but how would anybody know? And I am a firm believer in if somebody can be doing something like that, they're probably doing it. So, and it's small things like that, small things. But if he sees 5 patients a night, gets 5 OxyContins, that's 35 a week. And how much can he get for those, right? That's a little side bonus. So everybody's cut. So but that said, um, watching Medicaid, because oh my God, he said that they're giving people prescriptions that they don't even need. That's definite. Look at what they were giving me, and look at this doctor here. She wants to put me on Crestor, and I don't even have high LDL, not enough to put me on statins. No. And she's ignoring all of the rest of the blood work that is telling that I've got metabolic alkalosis and respiratory acidosis. What's that? I had to figure it out. I had to find it. But it's all told in the blood work. It's all told in my blood work. I really want to do that for people I know. Give me your blood work, your last blood work, and then go get your blood work done again. Let's see what you really have. That they're just waiting and watching to fall in line where they can start drugging you or taking a body part out. They're watching us die and they don't care. They don't. They're all like Maria at the Attorney General's office in Washington when they were trying to say I owed them money that I didn't owe. And I was telling her by her bugging me for it and for her trying to bill me for it, it would cause me a hardship if I paid it. And she said she didn't care what hardships it caused me. She didn't even care if the state was wrong. That's what she told me. She didn't care if the state was wrong. It was her job to defend the state against me. And she went home every night and she didn't give my problems a second thought. Tough luck, Judy. I'm the government and I want your money. Yeah. And they were trying to come. I had to move. I had the chance to get out of that state and away from those people. And I had to take it. And I took it. So I had a hearing set. But you know what? You go to those hearings and those judges, la, 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 those judges don't care. They don't look. They don't look. They don't care. So they got their lien because I wasn't in the state to be at that hearing. So they got their lien and I got a letter. I mean, I was out to lunch, but I guess that I left a forwarding address. I'm guessing I must have left a forwarding address. I'm pretty responsible that way, so I must have. I don't know. Anyway, I got in the mail something that said that they were contacting all the banks to find out where my banking accounts are because they're going to take my money. I didn't have any money. That was 2017. I went after I blew my knee and my ankles out at work. I didn't have any. I didn't work for a year and didn't have any money for a year. Hmm. There's been more than 1 year since this whole Chase Multicare debacle where I have not had any money because I couldn't work, and it's not because I wasn't trying. It's not because there was a fellow, I don't remember who, but on Facebook, and he said, "Man, Judy, if anybody deserves SNAP, you do." I didn't want SNAP. This has cost the government and the insurance companies too a fortune, a fucking fortune. And Multicare walks around all scot free. And then they get it's so okay. I got that letter, and fortunately, my bank is a small bank because they were sending the letter. They send the letters out to all the major banks to look and see if you have an account with them, and then send the money, whatever money you have, to them. They do not care that they're putting people into poverty. They don't care. And I got a hold of Governor Inslee's office. Governor Inslee, I sent an email or something, and I said, "Hey, you need to give me somebody in charge of the ESD who can take care of a big problem I'm having with them." I had actually paid them part of what they said I owed them, and then I got a second letter saying I owed them even more, something like $1,200. I was like, "What the hell? You guys just pulled $670 or something like that out of me, and now you want 1,200 more?" That's when I was like, "No, I'm fighting this because I never even owed you guys the $600." But like I said, I had to leave the state to have a place to live because my house, I knew I could I was losing my house again. 25 years I lived there. So, um, Inslee put me in touch with this lady, and she was jerking me around. And I said, she wasn't the one in charge. And I said, I want to know who's in charge there. I want their fidelity bond and I want their contact information. And she was not going to give it up. So I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to let Jay Inslee know you're not the one for the job. And then she was like, oh, well, let me give you the name of this clerk. She did give me the name of the woman in charge, but I wanted the fidelity bond information too. So I called this clerk, and he tried to stall me too. And I said, listen, I'm not just sitting on this. You people are going to end up getting sued by me. I'm like, right. But I'm working with the governor, and you need to give me the information. And he gave me the information. And then I did communicate by email with the woman in charge. And again, she tried to put me off. See, that's bureaucracy right there. And she tried to put me off. And then that's when I told her, listen, I've got your fidelity bond. Because if they are an agency, and they all are, that handle money, they've got to have a bond, an insurance, ensuring their fidelity. And the ESD had been screwing over everybody because their budget was having a shortfall, probably because a lot of employers stopped paying into it, and all of a sudden it was in this big negative, and they couldn't even support themselves. So and they said, they ended up saying that Nigerians stole something like $16 million out of their coffers through a hack or some kind of bull like that. But anyway, I just said to her, I said, listen, I've got your fidelity bond, and I'm going to put a claim in on it, okay? If you keep this up. Because she was like, well, we have this lien here, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you know what? I had to leave the state, and then I thought, no, I'm not even giving her my problems. And I said, you know what? I'm not. I'm here to tell you that I'm going to put a claim in on your fidelity bond for fraud. That's like the kiss of death. That the insurance this country pays so much money into insurance, so much money, and people, this should be part of civics. This should be part of civics, man. Teaching that. What they're doing is unconstitutional, all of them. That's why when I got a ticket that was it was not a legitimate. It was not a legitimate pullover. And I said to the clerk, you need to give me your fidelity bond. She goes, I don't have one. I said, the hell you don't. She walked over to the wall and took a copy of it. I did talk to Liberty Mutual, and I can't remember what it was I asked, but she was like, we can only speak to the person who pays the premium. I'm like, that's me, the taxpayer. We pay you the premium. Mm-hmm. That's your insurance companies. But anyway, I had that woman's bond. I said, I've got the information, the contact, because if you get a copy of it, and they have them at the Secretary of the State's office, or the Secretary of the county, or the Secretary of the municipality, whatever, the village, the city, whatever. That secretary has all of the insurance binders in their file cabinets. So, man, I saw the county's file cabinets of one drawer they pulled out and took out and brought it and set it down on the counter while they were flipping through looking for that particular bond. And it was packed solid with trifolds. I thought, geez, wow, how much that we're paying Liberty Mutual probably primarily Liberty Mutual, you know, that great Liberty Mutual, and fortunes. Probably, you know, for probably things like truck damage, you know what I mean? Or if a building of theirs burns down or something, you know, so it's not all illegitimate, you know, but these fidelity bonds is a big deal. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty proud of that because I said I'm going to put in a claim on your fidelity bond because you committed fraud against me. I did not. I did not receive unemployment insurance when you know, because they were accusing everybody of receiving unemployment insurance when we weren't supposed to be, like our claims weren't legitimate or something like that. Like, and that was bullshit. They were doing it to everybody, the poorest people too. I was talking about it. So I mean, I talk to people in the grocery stores and everywhere anymore. It's like, well, California, we always talked in the stores anyway, you know. So Washington, everybody was pretty tight-lipped, but you know, here they keep them too busy, so nobody gets to talk too much here. But they were ripping off the little people. One lady was so distraught. She was working at Fred Meyer, and she said she was only working part time. It was all she could find, and they threw her off because she was working part time, saying that working part time she couldn't find she couldn't be looking for a full time job. Then that's a kind of technical bullshit that they were pulling. And she said, "I've been looking for a full time job. I've been doing all the things that's required of me to prove to them that I am." And she said they still want me to pay back all the money. I have kids. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be able to pay my rent this month. And she was about ready to cry. And she said, I don't even know what I'm going to, and that's what they did. And coming here to Ohio, I found out that that's what they were doing here to people too. I was talking with a lady who was working in one of the stores right here downtown, and she said that's what they did to my husband too. He was unemployed and he couldn't find a job and he was looking, and there weren't a lot of jobs to even apply for. You know, that was a big deal too. If there and people were posting, there were becoming, I spoke to them in Washington because they were having people post phony jobs on the board, who people who were trying to get our information, like identity theft. And the guy, because we had to take classes too, and at the class I said, you know, something's not right with all of these job postings, and we talked about it and they knew about it. They said we're understaffed and we can't really go through all of these postings, but we know they're there. Well, it's like, how about you put a warning out at least? Can't somebody like get a Sharpie and write a, you know, something on the computer? Yeah, it's like they're morons. It's like put it on the door. You know, be careful of identity theft. People are using our system to try to steal identities. And then the rest, you know, there were a ton of government jobs, but it was obvious that they were only posting those jobs because they had to post it to the public, but they already had somebody in mind for it. So, you know, but we'd still do it. You know, I'd still do. We'd all be, tons of us down at the unemployment office scouring through the ads, you know, trying to find a job. So, but they were putting a lot of poor people in dire straits. They are the cause. They are the cause of a lot of the homelessness. I know that for a fact. They don't care. They don't care. So when I told her I was going to put a claim in, showed her that I had her Fidelity bond information, and she said, I'll have it taken care of. I think she said by the end of the month. And by the end of the month, if not sooner, I had that cleared. I received a release of the lien. I still have it. I keep a lot of this stuff because I don't want it to come back and bite me in the butt later on. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. So that happened, you know, with that bogus ticket too. And they're like, "Oh, they know that I know." the game. So it's like, leave me alone. If I do something bad, like the sheriff said when he pulled me over for talking like this while I was driving, but I wasn't talking like this. I was on the phone talking with try I was on the phone with Ralph's. So anyway, and it was true. I did it. Okay, I know better. I had to take the class. I still got jammed up for like $125. On their end, they think that the charge gets waived, but it does not. It gets maybe by the state, but not by the municipality. So I got jammed up. So, well, but you gotta know. You gotta know. So anyway, but anyway, back to Elvis. He tells whoever, that he did it. So I don't know why, he feels like he has to restrain me from anything. You know, I know that those guys really think that I want their bods. Oh yeah, I want their bods. Oh my God, that's pitiful. It's really, it's pitiful. So okay, this has turned into quite a long video, and I'll go ahead and post it. But yeah, the whole idea that I'm out of touch with reality and blah blah blah. That's so false. Oh, there's my Santa Claus. I painted that guy when we used to have a ceramic shop. Yeah, my first husband ruined it. He busted up all of our stuff. He had a violent temper. That's another subject. Anyway, okay, that's the video for today.